So, you both caught the film, the completed film, I guess, for the first time last night. I'm just wondering, did the final product play out as you had envisioned it?
It was just, I think it was it's so amazing to see everything put together. And for me, certainly, I was just really emotional about seeing so many people that I cared about, and we were all together for the first time again, and it was as much about that and seeing everybody else as seeing the film, and it was just a great night, all in all.
I mean, for me, it was over. You know, I won't lie, it was overwhelming for me to see this beautiful story come together. You know, this piece of work that everybody has worked so hard on over the last 18 months. You know, everybody, you know, from the camera loaders right up to the executives, everybody's put the same, you know, amount of effort in, and it's so good to see it come together last night.
It is.
And see people with smiles, you know, on their faces, and see the support outside. You know, it's fantastic.
Were they showing you images of what, you know, before you shot these scenes, of what the dragon's going to be here and it's going to look like this, and was that just all left up to your imagination?
There was a couple of, you know, there was some concept artwork floating around, but I mean, I think it, you know, it was sort of down to our
imagination. It was
imagination.
kind of vague,
Yeah,
it was up to us.
And even those concept drawings look nothing like what she does now anyway. You know.
Right. So do you pull down to, you know, the 6-year-old in you? And
oh yeah.
Now, talk about the relationship between your two characters. There's something definitely going on there, but
it's really complicated. I mean, on one hand,
aren't all relationships
exactly, you know, and which is kind of what makes it so good. It's Arya has these maternal feelings towards the dragon because she's been carrying this egg and waiting for the dragon to hatch, and then has huge feelings for Eragon, but at the same time she's 100 years old and things move very slowly for her in terms of how much she's going to give, but she wants to show him her support but keep it at arm's length at the same time, and it's very tricky.
And from the non-100-year-old
well, you know, I mean, I think Eragon's obviously a young lad, and I don't think he's really been around all that many females before anyway, and certainly not with any of them paying attention, you know, and I think he interprets it certainly as a friendship to start with anyway. I don't think he sees too much into it, but I think as any young 17-year-old guy would, he is obviously, you know, he's not, you know, he knows that she's an attractive young elf, or looks like a young attractive elf, even though she's 100 years.
Right.
It's quite young for elves.
He wouldn't know that yet. He's discovering all these things.
Eragon, you shouldn't have come.
But in the woods.
Leave me here. Go. Now.
It's far too late for that. Forgive me if I stare. I knew you were young, but even then I expected someone a little more. Well, more.
So do you know where the characters go from here? I mean, I know there's a second novel. Do you know where they would take you guys in the next film?
Well, only in as much as what we've seen from reading Christopher Paolini's second book, Eldest. But we don't know anything about what happens after that, so we're kind of like in the same situation as everyone else.
You're in the dark, just like all of us.
Pretty much.
Now, Ed, I'm curious about that final dragon fight scene and how that was shot, because it was all effects.
With the demonic beast.
Yes.
Well, you know, it was the same as all the other riding sequences. You know, we spent this time on the chicken, the mechanical bull, where, you know, the programmed all these clever moves for us to do. We whizzed around this studio doing that, and you know, the sequences where sort of Bobby and I were sort of suspended in midair, and I'm trying to get that sword into his sort of heart. You know, we were on these wires about 30 feet in the air, staring each other out, and he looked gorgeous in that makeup. And, you know,
very terrifying.
Yeah, really terrifying.
And you have another fantasy film coming out, Inkheart, right?
Well,
I mean, a little bit about that. Or?
Just started making it, so there'll be like a whole year or so of process before we're talking about that properly. Yeah.
Is it just as fantasy filled as this film, or?
Yeah, but very different. Very different.